Our last video was RFK Jr. versus Donald Trump in a head-to-head matchup. So now I figured we'd do RFK Jr. versus Biden based on the recent polls. So again, RFK Jr. conducted the polls, so they may be biased, but this is an interesting perspective on what would happen if one of the candidates were to drop out. In this case, being Donald Trump. As we saw when Biden dropped out, it was a 269 to 269 tie. But what happens when Trump drops out and it's Biden versus RFK Jr.? Well, watch to find out, and I'll offer some analysis along the way, so make sure to watch the whole video in order to better understand what would happen in this election scenario. And before this video officially starts, make sure to subscribe to my channel to help us defeat Senator Joe Manchin in subscribers. So now, on to the video. Like always, we're going to start in alphabetical order with the state of Alabama. Here in the deeply Republican state, Kennedy destroys President Joe Biden. So people may view Kennedy as a more conservative candidate in the state, which may be why Kennedy is defeating Biden in this typically Republican state. So even though RFK Jr. is officially an independent, was previously a Democrat, he is viewed as more conservative in general than Biden. So you'll see the states that RFK Jr. wins mimics pretty much the states that Trump would win in a Trump versus Biden head-to-head. Next, we have the state of Alaska. With this trend continuing, Trump wins it, as well as Kennedy, by plus 13 in Kennedy versus Biden. So Kennedy's off to an early lead, and let's see how long he can keep this lead before Biden wins a state. He is continuing the lead with the state of Arizona, safely winning these first three states. It's looking pretty promising for Kennedy, but I fear for Kennedy that he will lose in the state of California, which is next. But he wins again in the state of Arkansas, jumping to an early 4-state and 29 electoral vote lead. He does lose in the state of California, making it so that Biden is winning by 26 total electoral votes because of just this one state. So even though RFK Jr. has these four smaller states, this one big state gives Biden the lead. And like I said, people view Kennedy as more conservative than Biden, which is also why California, a Democratic state, deeply Democratic, is going to Joe Biden. And you'll see this with more states like California in the future. And we'll see, but with Colorado, which was previously a swing state, it does go to Kennedy because they may view him as more of a moderate Democrat or a moderate liberal. I'm not entirely sure how accurate this view is, but this is the typical view regarding RFK Jr. But if you actually look at his policies, some of them are more conservative and some of them are more liberal. It's kind of across the grid. Like, he is extremely liberal in environmental legislation, so he is a very interesting candidate. But in the state of Connecticut, they view him as more conservative, which is why it is going to Joe Biden. So RFK Jr. holds the state lead 5-2, but in terms of electoral votes, Biden is winning. Interestingly, in Biden's own home state, the state he is loved in, he is only up +4 against Kennedy. Even though Delaware is not Kennedy's home state, it's realistically New York, but it is going to Joe Biden, but not by much. The District of Columbia, we don't really know, but we can assume it will go to Joe Biden. It goes to Democrats almost always, and I don't see that will change in this cycle around. Next, the state of Florida, and also whenever the District of Columbia, they just see a D next to someone's name, they just vote for that person. It's kind of the same way in some Republican states like Wyoming. If they see an R next to someone's name, they'll vote for them. No matter who that is, pretty much. This is definitely a stereotype. But if you look at the trends in voting patterns, you'll see that Wyoming is heavily Republican and DC is heavily Democrat. But here in the state of Florida, with its 30 electoral votes, Kennedy is up by a pretty significant margin, +7, making his lead by +2 electoral votes. Can he continue this lead in the state of Georgia, which he won against Donald Trump, and he will win against Biden by slightly higher margin. So he is up 85 to 67. He's just coloring in this map. Biden only has 3 states so far, but with the most populous state in the entire union of California. Next, the state of Hawaii, a deeply Democratic state. It is going to RFK Jr. by +6. So RFK Jr. is just picking up all these states. He is getting this lead 89 to 67. Next, we have the state of Idaho with Kennedy winning by about 35. That is crazy numbers. He is up another 4 electoral votes. He is beating Trump in the state of Iowa, or in the state of Idaho, in Kennedy versus Biden and then Trump versus Biden matchups, but he's not beating Trump in a Kennedy versus Trump matchup. It's really interesting to see. So now we have Kennedy losing to Biden in the state of Illinois. So that's a big state. That's a big win for Joe Biden. But Biden is still down by 7 votes. We saw earlier in the last video that Kennedy had an early lead against Trump, but Trump ended up pulling it back for the tie. But I don't think Biden will end up bringing this back. Kennedy pulls another 11 in the state of Indiana. He's just running away with this lead. Another plus 11, and he wins Iowa plus 6. We're just going to do a few of these fast because these will all go to Kennedy. Kansas plus 6. Kentucky goes to RFK Jr. plus 8. Louisiana goes to RFK Jr. That's plus 8. This is pretty insane. RFK Jr. is winning pretty much all of these states. He's up 132 to 86. It's good to see if you're an RFK Jr. fan. The state of Maine goes to RFK Jr. And since this is such a significant lead, I'm going to give him both districts too. He has won a decent amount of states in a row at this point. And will he continue with the state of Maryland? No, he will not. His success ends there with Biden picking up the 10 electoral votes in the state of Maryland. Also, Maryland has really weird borders. I notice that every time, but figured I'd say something better right now. Next, we have the state of Massachusetts. Kennedy home, but the Kennedys also endorse Biden, and it goes to President Biden. But the state of Michigan, it is dead even, but Biden is up 45 to 44. It's kind of weird, but I will give it to Biden. He wins the state of Michigan, only down by 14 electoral votes. As you can see, almost every state that has been filled in is going to RFK Jr., but Biden is winning the populous states as usual, and as such makes it extremely close, even though he only has a few states to his name. But next we have the state of Minnesota. It is going to RFK Jr. He would break the streak of Minnesota going to Democratic candidates. The state of Mississippi going to RFK Jr. He's now up by 30 electoral votes, which is a pretty decent amount. And by the fact that he wins another 10 in Missouri, this lead may become insurmountable very soon, especially given he gets 4 from Montana. And will he get some more from Nebraska? I think so. He wins 12 by 12 in Nebraska, and I'll give him the districts since this is such a large lead. Next, in the state of Nevada, he wins by plus 12. This safely goes to him. Now he's up by 55. That's if Biden got another California somehow, he would still be losing. So it looks like RFK Jr. is pulling away with this lead. And with the state of New Hampshire, he just continues. He is going for 300 electoral votes. Forget 270. He's going for as many as he can in this head-to-head. But he does face a defeat in New Jersey. That puts a stop to his lead, but will his lead continue with New Mexico? It does. He wins in the state of New Mexico. We'll see. Can he get to 300? Can he even get to 400? That is the question here at hand. I don't think he can get to 400, but 300 is definitely a possibility. New York is dead even, so we'll leave that as a toss-up for now. But the state of North Carolina is not. The state of North Carolina is going to Kennedy. So he has hit 202 electoral votes, 68 from the magic number. The state of North Dakota brings him another 3 towards that 68. Now it's down to 65. And with the 17 votes from Ohio, he is extremely close to winning this election. And honestly, he may hit that 400 number. We'll see if 28 votes from New York can push him to that 400 once we get there. But we'll go to Oklahoma first. He is destroying Biden in the state of Oklahoma. He is now at plus 7 there. The state of Oregon goes to Kennedy. This is surprising to me. Oregon with the city of Portland, I figured would go to Joe Biden, but it is going to Kennedy. I can't really explain that, but it may be due to, I don't know, Biden's past. Maybe Biden how he voted back when he was a senator. Could be that, and it could be RFK Jr.'s environmental campaigns. Could be that. But regardless, RFK Jr. hits 237. And with the state of Pennsylvania, Biden wins it. So Biden wins this significant state. So this puts an end to RFK Jr.'s hopes at 400, most likely. But RFK Jr.'s hopes of 270 are very much in the air, especially now that he wins the state of Rhode Island. It's a very small state, but it brings him ever so close to that magic number. The state of South Carolina bringing him even more close to that magic number. So we can see that the state of South Carolina safely goes to him. He's now only 20 off from 270. Another 3 from South Dakota does not hurt. And another 11 from Tennessee doesn't hurt. You sometimes kind of forget, at least I do, like how many electoral votes some of these states have. Like Indiana and Tennessee and Kentucky and Ohio. They have pretty significant amounts of electoral votes. But since you pretty much know where they're going, you kind of forget how many votes they actually have and how important they actually are. The state of Texas, speaking of importance, brings 40 to the RFK Jr. camp. It is safely going to him. He already hit 300. With that state, he won this election. And Biden is just getting destroyed. He's getting obliterated by RFK Jr. Can RFK Jr. hit 400? No, he cannot. There simply aren't enough electoral votes left at stake for him to do so. But we'll see how many he can actually get up to. In the state of Utah, he safely wins. He gets another 6 for his column. The state of Vermont, that's actually interesting. It goes to Biden, a very Democratic state with a Republican governor, interestingly enough. It is going to President Biden, but only 3 electoral votes, unlike the state of Virginia, which RFK Jr. graduated from the University of Virginia Law School, and he wins the state of Virginia, pushing him to 323. It is even in the state of Washington, 2 even states on this election so far. He wins the state of West Virginia, however, by a significant margin. The state of Wisconsin does go to RFK Jr. as well, by a pretty decent margin. And then now we finally have the state of Wyoming, a deeply Republican state, going to RFK Jr. They actually had a Libertarian House of Representatives in the Wyoming House, not the Congress House, not that long ago. So it makes sense to me that they're voting for an independent candidate. Maybe they have more of an independent spirit in Wyoming. Maybe they're more likely to vote for third parties. I don't know, but they're voting for RFK Jr. And now we have the states of New York and Washington left up for grabs. But regardless, RFK Jr. has hit 340 electoral votes, making it pretty significant lead over President Biden. I mean, what he seems to be saying is, Donald Trump, if you don't want Biden to win, you better drop out. But that's never going to happen. But it's fun to see a prediction like this. And maybe there will be a case, maybe due to the Constitution, people say that there's a chance that Trump can't run due to him. He will be a felon, most likely, and also the fact that he committed the insurrection. Maybe he can't run. Who knows? But that's why this is useful to see. And if you like this prediction, not really a prediction, if you like this analysis, then please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you.